Have you ever found yourself making a decision and immediately regretting it, even though it felt right at the moment? That strange tension between what your heart wants and what your mind knows is a battle that each of us faces daily. The mind, with its deliberate calculations, charts a course of safety, reason, and predictability. The heart, however, pulses with urgency, instinct, and desire. And yet it is precisely this tension that shapes who we are and how we live. Imagine standing at a crossroads. One path is illuminated by logic. It promises security, clear outcomes, and rationality. The other is lit by emotion, full of passion, risk, and the unknown. Most people have chosen one path over the other at some point, only to look back and wonder whether they were guided by wisdom or impulse. Psychologists have long studied this dynamic, and books like Thinking, Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman remind us that the brain operates through two systems: the slow analytical thinker and the fast emotional reactor. Both are essential, but their goals often clash. Emotions are powerful because they carry information about our values, our desires, and our fears. They alert us when something is important, signaling opportunities or threats that logic alone might overlook. Yet, emotions can be misleading. A surge of anger can prompt harsh words, regret, and broken relationships. Intense fear can prevent us from pursuing meaningful growth. When unchecked, emotions can hijack our decision-making process, overriding logic in ways we later regret. Logic, on the other hand, offers a lens of clarity. It allows us to weigh options, predict outcomes, and make choices that align with long-term goals rather than immediate impulses. But logic alone is cold. A decision made purely from reason may ignore human needs, social bonds, or personal fulfillment. Without emotion, life can feel mechanical, and decisions, even correct ones, may leave a lingering sense of emptiness. The true art lies not in suppressing one over the other, but in integrating both. Emotional intelligence, the skill of recognizing and regulating emotions, gives logic the context it needs. Simultaneously, logic provides a framework for emotions to act constructively. In life, the most effective decisions often emerge when we pause, reflect, and ask, "What am I feeling, and why? What do I know, and how does it guide me?" This careful dialogue between mind and heart can prevent impulsive mistakes while still honoring our desires and values. Consider the simple act of a relationship conflict. Pure emotion might drive an outburst, pure logic might lead to cold distance, but when we listen to our emotions, understand the underlying needs, and then apply reason to respond thoughtfully, the outcome is more likely to preserve connection and foster growth. Life rarely offers purely rational or purely emotional decisions. The moments that define us are often those where we navigate this delicate balance, successfully. Understanding the battles between logic and emotion doesn't just improve decision-making, it deepens our self-awareness. When we can recognize our emotional impulses and analyze them logically, we gain freedom. We no longer act as slaves to fleeting feelings or rigid thought. Instead, we cultivate mastery over our internal conflicts. This ongoing interplay is what makes us human. The challenge is constant, but so is the opportunity for growth. By observing, reflecting, and integrating both logic and emotion, we not only make better choices, we live fuller, richer lives. And perhaps the greatest victory is realizing that the battle itself is not about one conquering the other, but about learning to have them walk together, guiding us through life's complex and beautiful journey. Every day, each of us navigates a constant tug-of-war between logic and emotion. From the moment we wake up and make decisions about what to wear, eat, or say, to the major life choices that define our careers, relationships, and personal growth, this silent struggle is at work. Logic, the voice of reason, quietly analyzes, predicts, and calculates. It reminds us of consequences, of cause and effect, and of long-term implications. Logic is the part of the mind that asks, what is the safest path? What is most efficient? Or what choice aligns with my goals? It is patient, methodical, and structured, and it often provides a sense of security in an unpredictable world. Emotion, by contrast, moves with intensity and immediacy. It is visceral, powerful, and impossible to ignore. Joy, fear, anger, desire, and love shape the way we perceive reality. Emotions act like an internal compass, signaling what matters most to us and often pushing us toward action before logic has a chance to intervene. This immediacy makes emotions both a guide and a hazard. While logic can sometimes be slow and detached, emotion can create a sense of urgency that drives us forward, for better or worse. The tension between these two forces is not just theoretical, it is deeply personal. Think of the moments when you've wanted to confront someone but held back because it wasn't strategic, or when you took a risk simply because it felt right despite the potential for failure. That inner debate between what the mind knows and what the heart feels can be exhausting, frustrating, and at times paralyzing. Yet it is precisely this struggle that allows humans to grow, learn, and adapt. It forces us to weigh priorities, examine our values, and reflect on our impulses. In understanding this battle, we begin to see that neither force is inherently superior. Logic without emotion is detached and incomplete, unable to appreciate meaning, passion, or human connection. Emotion without logic can be reckless, leading to mistakes and regrets. The challenge and the opportunity lies in recognizing both forces, listening to them, and learning how to allow them to influence one another. By acknowledging they, our minds are arenas for this ongoing competition. We gain insight into our own decision-making processes, empowering ourselves to navigate life with clarity, wisdom, and awareness of the delicate balance that defines the human experience. Emotions are often misunderstood. Many people assume that feelings are irrational, impulsive, or unreliable, something to be ignored or suppressed in favor of reason. Yet emotions are not the enemy of logic. They are vital sources of information about ourselves and the world around us. When you feel fear, it is not just an obstacle, it is a signal that something important is at stake, an alert to danger, or a guide to where boundaries lie. Joy, excitement, sadness, and anger each carry unique messages revealing our values, our priorities, and our deepest desires. Emotions are the mind's way of giving context to experience, highlighting what deserves attention, reflection, or action. However, the power of emotions comes with a caveat. They can mislead when unexamined. A fleeting surge of anger might convince you to speak harshly, damaging relationships before reason has a chance to intervene. Anxiety can amplify threats that may not exist, trapping you in indecision or avoidance. Even intense joy or infatuation can create blind spots, prompting choices that feel right in the moment, but contradict your long-term goals. This dual nature of emotion, both informative and potentially misleading, creates a delicate balancing act. Understanding this balance is not about eliminating emotion, but about learning to interpret it. Psychological research emphasizes that emotions provide critical data, much like a dashboard in a car. Just as a warning light signals a potential problem, emotions indicate when attention is required. Ignoring them entirely may lead to poor decision-making, yet relying on them without reflection can result in impulsivity and regret. The key is to engage in what some psychologists call meta-emotion, the ability to observe and evaluate your own emotional states. By doing so, you transform raw feelings into actionable insight, allowing logic to guide your response while honoring the underlying emotional message. Consider how emotions shape everyday decisions. When deciding whether to pursue a new career, a surge of excitement might reveal your passion, while anxiety warns of potential obstacles. Rather than dismissing either feeling, observing, and analyzing both allows for a more informed, balanced decision. Emotions are not the opposite of rationality, they are its complement. They provide color, meaning, and urgency to otherwise sterile calculations. By learning to recognize, understand, and channel emotions rather than suppress or blindly follow them, we gain clarity, self-awareness, and the ability to act with both wisdom and humanity. Logic is often praised as the hallmark of intelligence, the tool that allows humans to analyze, predict, and solve complex problems. It provides clarity, STR, structure, and order in a world that can otherwise feel chaotic and unpredictable. When faced with difficult decisions, logic offers a roadmap. It helps weigh options, calculate risks, and envision potential outcomes. By thinking logically, we can make choices that maximize benefits, minimize harm, and align with our long-term objectives. It is the mechanism through which humans have built civilizations, created technology, and advanced knowledge. Logic is precise, reliable, and disciplined, and it allows us to step back from the emotional turbulence of life to consider what is rationally best. Yet, logic alone is not enough. A purely logical mind risks becoming detached, cold, and disconnected from the human experience. Decisions guided solely by reason can feel mechanical, stripping life of its nuance, meaning, and emotional depth. Consider a scenario where someone chooses a career purely based on salary, stability, or prestige, ignoring their passions or personal satisfaction. While the choice may make sense logically, it may leave them unfulfilled, exhausted, or disengaged. Logic without emotion cannot fully grasp what it means to live a meaningful, balanced life. It can solve problems, but may fail to address human needs, desires, and relationships. Detachment from emotion can also lead to indecision. When logic demands perfection or absolute certainty, it can create paralysis. People may overanalyze options, seeking the perfect choice while ignoring the reality that no decision is ever entirely risk-free or guaranteed. Emotions, when acknowledged, provide the spark that prompts action. They offer the courage, motivation, and intuition necessary to complement logical analysis. Without them, logic risks stagnation. Plans remain on paper, opportunities slip away, and life becomes a series of unresolved calculations. The challenge, therefore, is to use logic not as an end in itself, but as a guide informed by emotion. Logic can structure the path, provide clarity on risks and rewards, and illuminate practical steps. Emotion, in turn, energizes and humanizes the process, ensuring that decisions align not just with efficiency but with values, purpose, and personal fulfillment. When combined, logic and emotion form a partnership. One provides the map, the other the motivation to move forward. Understanding this dynamic allows us to navigate life's complexity more effectively, making decisions that are both rationally sound and deeply meaningful, rather than rigidly calculated or blindly impulsive. The human mind is a complex system where logic and emotion continuously interact, sometimes harmoniously, often in conflict. Understanding this interplay is crucial because it directly impacts our ability to make decisions and cultivate self-awareness. Too often, people approach decisions as if they must choose between thinking and feeling, as if these two aspects of the mind exist in isolation. The truth is that logic and emotion are deeply interconnected, each shaping and influencing the other in ways we may not immediately recognize. Awareness of this relationship can transform how we respond to challenges, navigate relationships, and pursue our goals. When we learn to observe the influence of both logic and emotion, we gain insight into why we act the way we do. For example, a sudden feeling of anger may seem irrational until we explore what triggered it, perhaps a perceived injustice or unmet expectation. Similarly, logic may suggest a course of action that feels uncomfortable, yet the discomfort itself carries meaning. It may indicate that the choice challenges deeply held values or fears. By reflecting on both our emotional reactions and our rational assessments, we move beyond impulsive or purely calculated behavior. We begin to understand not only the external consequences of our decisions, but also the internal factors driving them. This awareness extends to self-understanding. Emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, interpret, and manage emotions, complements rational thinking by providing context to our choices. When we pay attention to the signals our emotions send and then analyze them through the lens of logic, we gain a clearer picture of our strengths, weaknesses, desires, and limitations. Self-awareness allows us to recognize patterns, repeated mistakes, recurring fears, or habitual responses, and empowers us to respond rather than react. Decisions made from this integrated perspective are more balanced, thoughtful, and aligned with both our goals and our authentic selves. Furthermore, understanding this interplay improves interpersonal relationships. Recognizing that others are also influenced by the push and pull of logic and emotion fosters empathy and patience. We learn to interpret reactions not as purely emotional or irrational, but as a combination of internal states and cognitive evaluations. This perspective encourages communication that is both compassionate and reasoned, reducing conflict and promoting collaboration. In essence, appreciating the dynamic relationship between logic and emotion transforms the decision-making process. It allows us to act with clarity while honoring our feelings, to weigh options without ignoring intuition, and to navigate life with a deeper sense of self-knowledge. The more we understand this interplay, the more effectively we can harness it, turning what might seem like internal conflict into a source of insight, growth, and empowered action. Life is rarely simple, and rarely do situations present themselves in ways that can be solved by logic alone or by emotion alone. Most decisions we face exist in a gray area, where clarity and passion must coexist for us to act effectively. Pure logic can provide structure and predict consequences, but it may overlook human needs, relationships, and values. Pure emotion can inspire courage and drive, but it can also blind us to potential consequences or long-term outcomes. The key to navigating these complex scenarios is integration, the ability to bring both forces together in a balanced way that respects reason while honoring feeling. Consider a career decision. Logic might tell you that a certain path guarantees stability, security, and measurable success. Emotion might pull you toward a path of creativity, passion, or personal fulfillment, even if it involves risk. Choosing solely based on reason may lead to safety, but potentially a sense of emptiness or regret. Choosing solely based on emotion may lead to excitement, but also uncertainty and setbacks. Neither path alone guarantees satisfaction or wisdom. Integration means considering the insights provided by logic, but also listening to the emotional signals that reveal what truly matters to you. It requires reflection, patience, and the willingness to ask hard questions about priorities, values, and potential outcomes. Integration also plays a critical role in relationships. Conflicts often arise because one person reacts emotionally while another approaches the situation logically. A purely emotional response may escalate tension, while a purely logical response may appear cold or dismissive. The most effective approach involves recognizing the validity of both perspectives, responding with empathy, and guiding the situation with reason. By doing so, we honor feelings while maintaining structure and perspective, creating outcomes that are both meaningful and sustainable. The challenge of integration is ongoing. It demands self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and critical thinking. It is not a one-time achievement, but a skill honed over time through reflection, experience, and mindfulness. Life will continue to present dilemmas, uncertainties, and conflicts where neither pure logic nor pure emotion can provide a complete answer. Yet when we learn to integrate both, we equip ourselves to make decisions that are thoughtful, authentic, and resilient. We transform internal tension into a source of insight, turning what could be conflict into a guide that navigates us toward wiser, more balanced, and more fulfilling choices. Emotional intelligence is more than just a buzzword. It is a practical skill that allows individuals to understand, manage, and respond to their own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. When we talk about navigating the conflicts between rational thought and feelings, emotional intelligence becomes the bridge between these two often competing forces. It is the capacity to recognize when emotions are influencing decisions, to interpret what those emotions mean, and to integrate them effectively with logical reasoning. In short, emotional intelligence equips us with the tools to navigate the complex inner landscape of the human mind. One of the most powerful aspects of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. By understanding our emotional responses, we gain insight into why we act the way we do. A surge of frustration may signal an unmet need or boundary, while excitement might indicate a personal passion or value being engaged. Recognizing these patterns allows us to pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It also gives logic a partner, one that provides context, depth, and personal relevance to decisions that might otherwise feel abstract or purely calculated. Without this self-awareness, even the most logical decisions can feel empty or misaligned with our values. Equally important is the ability to regulate emotions. Emotional intelligence teaches us that emotions are not problems to be suppressed, but signals to be understood and managed. When anger, fear, or anxiety arises, the emotionally intelligent person can slow down, evaluate the triggers, and determine how best to respond. This regulation does not mean denying the emotion. Rather, it allows the emotional message to inform decisions without overwhelming rational thought. In practice, this leads to choices that are measured, balanced, and more likely to lead to positive outcomes both personally and socially. Empathy, another core component of emotional intelligence, extends this skill beyond the self. By understanding and respecting the emotions of others, we can navigate interpersonal conflicts with sensitivity and insight. We learn to interpret behavior not as irrational or troublesome, but as information reflecting needs, fears, and values. This perspective fosters better communication, collaboration, and problem-solving, turning potential conflicts into opportunities for connection and understanding. Ultimately, developing emotional intelligence strengthens the mind's ability to integrate logic and feeling. It allows us to honor our emotions while still making rational, informed decisions. It teaches patience, reflection, and self-compassion, creating the conditions for more thoughtful, authentic, and balanced living. In a world where choices are rarely clear-cut and internal conflicts are inevitable, emotional intelligence provides the foundation for mastering the dialogue between mind and heart, transforming tension into wisdom and uncertainty into confident action. In the journey of understanding the battles between logic and emotion, we come to realize that neither force is meant to dominate the other. Logic provides clarity, structure, and foresight, guiding us through the complexities of life with reasoned judgment. Emotion brings depth, urgency, and meaning, reminding us of what matters most and illuminating the path that aligns with our values. Each day presents choices that challenge us, moments where the heart and mind pull in different directions. Yet the true mastery lies not in choosing one over the other, but in learning to integrate both. Through self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and reflection, we gain the ability to recognize our emotional impulses, analyze them thoughtfully, and allow logic to guide our actions without diminishing the richness of our feelings. By embracing this delicate balance, we make decisions that are not only rational, but also deeply authentic. Relationships improve, personal growth accelerates, and the internal conflicts that once felt like obstacles become sources of insight and empowerment. The tension between logic and emotion is not a weakness, it is a defining characteristic of our humanity, an opportunity to navigate life with wisdom, compassion, and courage. As you move forward, remember that the battles within your mind are not meant to be won by one side alone. They are meant to teach, to challenge, and to shape you into someone capable of thoughtful, meaningful action. Honor your emotions, respect your logic, and allow the conversation between the two to guide you. With practice, patience, and reflection, you can transform internal conflict into clarity, uncertainty into confident choice, and hesitation into deliberate, empowered action. Good luck on this journey of self-discovery and growth. May you find balance in your decisions, courage in your challenges, and clarity in moments of doubt. Thank you for taking the time to reflect on the powerful interplay of logic and emotion, and for being willing to explore the forces that shape your mind, your heart, and ultimately your life.